China certainly faces both cyclical challenges and structural issues. I mean, the structural issues includes the property sector, and there's a lot of policies being pushed out to try to address the overcapacity over there. And it takes time. It's not something which can be done overnight. So you're absolutely right. So China has been, relative to the US and other developed economies, a deflationary force. Certainly not just in and of itself, but also to the rest of the region. But I think overall, I think the trend should be a little bit more positive moving forward, given the stimulus that's already in the pipeline. The fact that China has already pushed out quite a lot of local government special bonds, so there's more fiscal stimulus yet to come. And also some of the sort of property sector policies to reduce inventory and overhang probably will help at the margin moving forward as well. So we do see a little bit more appreciation moving forward.
Could you help us understand how that deflationary impulse counterweighs against what are potential systemic increases to the overall inflation outlook?
Yeah.
One of the issues that we have in a lot of our conversations with investors regarding the United States in particular is this idea that you're going to have to see 75 basis points of rate cuts through year end. At JP Morgan, we think that's a risk, primarily because of a misread of a lot of these supply chain issues, et cetera, as episodic rather than systemic. If they're systemic, then inflation rebases at a significantly higher level. Where does that balance find itself in your analysis?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, certainly there are the cyclical, or I mean, in fact, so transitory kind of issues, and that's certainly been driving inflation. And as a house in MUFG, we do expect that as some of the supply chain issues dissipate, you could see inflation come off a little bit more. But I agree with you. I think we also have to be cognizant of the structural issues. So there's a big megatrend such as deglobalization, the fragmentation of and replication of supply chains, decarbonization. I mean, India is experiencing a heat wave right now, and certainly this heat waves, droughts, floods make policy more difficult for central banks to manage inflation. And I do think that you see both higher inflation on average and more volatile over the longer term. But yeah, that's a great point. I think there's a lot of push and pull factors, both on the cyclical side and also the structural side, like we discussed on China.